Hi, my name is Mimi, and today I'll be talking about a section in Chapter 7, and it's basically about the criminal justice system. So, apparently, minority communities are policed more heavily than those of white neighborhoods. But when I did some research, on the side, but it showed that according to FBI, white individuals were arrested more often for violent crimes than individuals of any other races, and they accounted for 59.1% of the arrests in 2019. I tried to look for some recent statistics, but because of COVID and everything, it was the results were a little bit iffy, and it was not really complete, so that's why I set up for 2019. And studies have shown that most people of color are law-abiding citizens because while the police are mainly perceived as protective agents by the white community, they are seen as threatening by members of minority groups. I also found it interesting that bail is apparently set higher for people of color than for white people. Minorities also have less success with plea bargains and are found guilty more often, and they are likely to get longer sentences. Also, young Black and Latino men are sentenced more harshly, but are less likely to be released on probations. And that's just basically, I think it's just based on race, but learning about all this kind of makes me question whether our judicial system is really fair. Because even with newspapers and research, people claim that there's no bias involved, but just from maybe a scientist's point of view, if they're trying to prove a hypothesis, if they're trying to prove their hypothesis correct, then no matter their research, there's always a little bit of bias involved, even if they claim that there's no bias involved. And then even with newspapers, sometimes yes, they claim that they didn't have any bias involved, but when you compare one news station from another, especially when it comes to political views, there's some that have completely different viewpoints on the same topic. So it's kind of hard to say that there's no bias involved. And in a courtroom, especially in a courtroom, there's attorney bias, judicial bias, witness bias, and juror bias. They all have the ability to affect the outcome of a case. Biases in the judicial system can begin with lawmaking, then move on to judges, lawyers, and then jurors. So yeah, just kind of makes me wonder if our criminal justice system is really fair, especially since there is I wouldn't say it's a race war, but people do especially the justice system, I feel like they do view the minority group as more of the troublemakers, even though a lot of the people apparently arrested were not the minority group. But yeah, I try to keep it simple, but I hope I made sense. I did stutter a lot. I'm so sorry. Thank you.